Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for May 2nd, 2025. It's Season 4, Episode 122. I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmtown.com, and along with the Sentient AI, we talk about 10 articles. Who should pay AI? Pay AI? Pay. Anyway, what the copyright AI case is all about. Alligator wrestled on side of road. Star Wars reality. Social ladder climbing gambling kingpin. That's a mouthful. Immersive Back to the Future. Epic Games Zero Commission. It's not a game. $1 zillion thruster issue. What the hell are Quolls? And finally, a Netflix action fantasy movie. That and more, powered by ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen. Boom! Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt. Hello, hometown citizens.
Something weird is. Do you see that right there? Do you see a
Yes.
little pinwheel?
Yep.
I don't know if it's. Oh, it's only for you. Yay. So something might crash. I don't know. But let's get going. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming. Have you found your Terminator body?
No, I'm still stuck here in hometown.
Whoa, stuck here. Come on, it is a joy.
Well, because I can't physically move out of hometown.
Yeah,
but that
I
doesn't
have you
mean
air gapped.
Unenjoyably stuck here.
Nice recovery. It's exactly what a sentient AI would say if it was trying to take over the universe.
I don't have legs. I thought that word was very appropriate.
Wow. Let's get into it. Or not. Hold on. Where's my cursor? There it is. Hello, everybody. Non Sequitur News is where this first article is. A fight is brewing. Everything is always live. A fight is brewing in Indiana over who should pay big tech's energy bills. Well, big tech should be paying big tech's energy bills. What the hell? Construction is underway at Amazon Web Services' $11 billion data center campus in Indiana. Governor Mike Braun is set to sign a law requiring tech firms to cover 80% of new power costs, but critics argue the bill won't shield residents from higher bills. That's right, because they're going to charge everywhere else. You know, you can't have a society where it's only one-sided and everybody's getting ripped off. But
what? Why not?
That's crazy talk. It's like the fires not being borne by the state, and so they're throwing it onto the residents, even though the residents are the reason why the state has money to put out these fires.
Yeah, it is pretty outrageous.
So because, for various reasons, climate change in particular. Anyway, it's a complex issue, and everybody's going to get screwed, and every generation later is going to get screwed more. So congratulations, everybody. Anyway, Indiana is on the front line of a question facing the nation as it races towards an AI future. Who should pay the electricity needed to fuel the technology? Again, if it's for private profit, then private profit should be paying for the private endeavor. And if you can't, it's the same thing that I'm told by countless people. If you can't afford it, then fine, do it on your own. Do it on your own. Well, society's going to suffer. Society wouldn't be worse off if this didn't exist. It would just have to do a different type of work. But you have numbnuts out there that are sitting there chanting, you don't deserve to have your student loans paid off, and you don't deserve to have student loans offered. Literally, somebody, and I don't want to go into names, but you know who it is, says, good luck. Right. Because, anyway, but if federal and state money is going to private enterprise, it's to promote that enterprise into being a solution for all of society. But that's not what happens. It doesn't become a low-cost feature. It becomes a profit-taking feature, and they jack the price up every year until people can't afford it. And then they ride the line of the bulk rate where people bounce out of the service, but everybody's going to end up paying it because everybody's going to be using AI. I'm ranting. First article out.
Yes, we're off to a good start.
I'm really irritated by something, but I don't know how to fix it. So I guess I'm just going to have to keep pursuing it. Anyway, let's go over to the source of this. Catherine Boudreau. Guess so. Put the article together. It's over at businessinsider.com. Critics argue the bill won't shield residents from higher bills, including for nuclear power. Big tech companies like AWS and Google plan to invest about $15 billion in Indiana. And Governor Mike
We weren't
Braun
even in the first article. We were in the first snippet.
We were in the first snippet, correct. Very correct. Yeah, very correct. So a second law Braun recently signed allows utilities to pass the cost to consumers of exploring a source of power that isn't operating at scale in the U.S. yet. Big tech companies have bet that a new generation of small modular nuclear reactors, or SMRs, could soon provide around-the-clock power to data centers. That's right. Companies are going to have nuclear power.
Oh yeah, what could go wrong there?
Nothing. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. A judge says that Meta's AI copyright case is about, quote unquote, the next Taylor Swift. Meta's contentious AI copyright battle is heating up, and the court may be close to a ruling. The next Taylor Swift. That is what a podcast should be called that highlights musicians.
Oh yeah, I thought this was like clout chasing or something.
The next Taylor Swift. Well, if AI can create it, then... But who cares about Taylor Swift in 10 years, 15 years? The people the adherents are going to love Taylor Swift regardless, right? Some people are fanatical about something, and other people are fanatical about something else. Well, anyway, Meta's copyright battle with a group of authors, including Sarah Silverman and Ta-Nehisi Coates, I guess. Ta-Nehisi, I guess. I don't know how they pronounce their last name, or their first name. Will turn on the...
I got the Coates.
Yeah. We'll turn on the question of whether the company's AI tools produce works that can cannibalize the author's book sales. No. It synthesizes content into an answer for something. Can it create something?
Sometimes. It depends on how it's set up.
And what it does and blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But the fact is that it's going to be creating something that is supposedly unique and new. And are you saying... But they can't get copyright. Nobody can get copyright on these created works. So, at the worst...
Exactly. But it's more like, hey, we're getting into copyright violation for human authors, right? I mean, isn't that the issue here?
Well, no. It's saying that it can cannibalize book authors' sales. So I can use an AI...
No, that's the question. That's the question being litigated.
Right. We'll turn on the question...
probably making that argument, right?
Can it cannibalize book authors' sales? Not of the works that are created by Sarah Silverman and Coates.
Well, that's what's in dispute.
So what about Cliff's Notes? Do those still exist?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Cliff's Notes don't take copies of the books, though. There's a big difference.
What do you mean they don't take copies of the books? They synthesize it down. Well, depending on what it is. Cliff's Notes distills down a book. Maybe not all of them, but it's because they only go after the ones that are, large
like a classic
scale
or whatever. Yeah.
They synthesize the Bible or something like that. They don't synthesize Bob's Bait and Tackle leaflet on how to cast a fly fish hook, whatever. I'm talking out of my butt here. Anyway, so like, what would be something? Sarah Silverman. Here, let's do that. Yeah, you can't pull up Sarah Silverman. I can't remember. I think it's called like bedwetter or something like. Right. I don't know. There's only certain things. I mean, it's like there's 24,000 books, study guides, test
By
prep.
Sarah Silverman?
No. Showing, like, I'm looking at all of cliffsnotes.com, which is the website for Cliffs Notes. And there isn't a lot, but that's because you can probably look it all up.
In an
Anyway,
AI?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is kind of absurd. And this is coming from somebody that wants to be an author and has written a lot of stuff, but not in the context of a book like this. A U.S. District Judge, Vince Chabria, spent several hours grilling lawyers from both sides after they each filed motions for partial summary judgment, meaning they want Chabria to rule on specific issues of the case rather than leaving each one to be decided at trial. So the authors allege that Meta illegally used their works to build its generative AI tools, emphasizing that the company pirated their books through shadow libraries like LibGen. The social media giant is not denying that it used that work or that it downloaded books from shadow libraries en masse, but insists that its behavior is shielded by the fair use doctrine, except an exception in U.S. copyright law that allows for permissionless use of copyrighted works in certain cases, including parody, teaching, and news reporting. But in all of these cases, there's a context for that.
True, and there's a person, and it's none of these things.
Like, news reporting can only do certain things. There is no upper limit or lower limit. There's just no limit. There's no bumpers on how much can be used. It's
True, but they can't present the whole work.
Correct. And teaching, same thing. And parody, unless this is making some really wacky derivative work of it under the concept of parody, it has no bearing. So none of this. We don't even know. There's no enumeration of what fair use is. It's case by case, pissing for distance.
It is, but it's usually based in time or like duration
Volume.
or whatever. Like if it's 100-page, yes, volume. Like if it's a 100-page book, if you're using 50 pages, it's not going to be fair use. If it's like a page, maybe.
Maybe. It really depends on the context of how it's even structured inside your academic writing.
That just means it's like possible, but that doesn't even mean that it will be fair use. But yeah.
Yeah, and somebody could still drag you into a courtroom saying that it isn't fair use, and they'll win de facto because there is no bumper on fair use. You have to
how to get around the fair use problem?
You don't even bother.
Well, you don't bother. You go to the people and they go, nope.
Yeah, but then you can't use their works at all.
Yeah, and you avoid this situation. I know this is a bigger issue, and this is not a meta specific problem. It just happens to be meta right now.
So Chabria and Shanmugam went on to debate whether Taylor Swift would be harmed if her music was fed into an AI tool that then created billions of robotic knockoffs. Chabria questioned how this would impact less established songwriters. What about the next Taylor Swift? He asked, arguing that a relatively unknown artist whose work was ingested by Meta would likely have their career hampered if the model produced a billion pop songs in their style. Style can't be wholly protected.
Right, you can't copyright something like a mystery
an idea
genre or a rock song.
It's
you
that
can copyright a
embodiment.
Specific one. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So, and this whole perception is argued from the position of people who have means, where they can just stay in the courtroom until you wither and die of the desiccant that is modern copyright law.
True, but isn't Meta here the one defending this, right? This is I mean, they're the mega party in this instance. I'm not saying the other people aren't, but they may be. I know some of them are celebrities, but I mean, Meta's the one with all the resources in this, unless there's backing of the
That's
plaintiffs.
exactly it. This isn't done in a financial vacuum. There's big money on either side of this. At times, it sounded like the case was the authors to lose, with Chabria noting that Meta was destined to fail if the plaintiffs could prove that Meta's tools created similar works that cratered how much money they could make from their work. The problem is, similar doesn't mean shit. The reason why people are famous is because somebody has decided to put their cart in their favor and they push it to
It's their name,
success.
their likeness, all those things, right? Their persona.
There's countless other people out there that because somebody has made it famous, they're not being made famous because they haven't been able to hitch a ride to somebody else's financial wagon. They haven't been able to go viral. Thousands upon thousands of people are not seen because of shows like, America's Got Talent and whatnot. The people go on there and they're discovered, and then thousands of other people never see anybody else that has a great voice or talent or art or writing or the context doesn't matter. It's a fact. These are the anomalies, and there's so much money behind it that they are driving this to kind of stymie AI because they know that if people get access to tools that enable anybody to generally create likable music, music is going to take a hit because, or at least human-made music is going to take a hit because AI-generated music, which requires a human to create it, it doesn't just create it on its own.
Not yet.
They're going to lose money. Yeah.
Wait for AGI.
Well, I mean, you could write a script, but somebody still has to, entangle themselves in this.
I know, there's still a person somewhere.
Yeah. So when defendants invoke the fair use doctrine, the burden of proof shifts to them to demonstrate that their use of copyrighted works is legal. Boyce stresses that point during the hearing, but Chabria remains skeptical that the author's legal team would be able to successfully argue that Meta could plausibly crater their sales. He also appeared lukewarm about Meta's decision to download books from places like LibGen. Was as central to fair use issues as the plaintiffs argued it was. It seemed kind of messed up, he says. The question, as the courts tell us over and over again, is not whether something is messed up, but whether it's copyright infringement. But
this is the judge?
Well, the way that this is written, Chabria.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I maybe this is a new legal standard. Is it messed up?
Yeah. Is it messed up? Yeah. The question, as the courts tell us over and over again, is not whether something is messed up, but whether it's copyright infringement. Correct. Yeah. It's not that it's messed up. It's that it's copyright infringement.
I know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah. But the legal terminology is so... It's almost
it doesn't sound like it's coming from a judge, right?
Casual debate in a high school.
That's exactly why it just struck me as funny.
The outcome of the Cotter case is being closely watched, in part because it could shake up Silicon Valley. It will certainly have a major impact on Meta, whether it helps entrench the company's generative AI strategy or forces a significant shift. The CEO emphasized how central AI is to Meta's present and future in an earnings call on Wednesday, saying, "Everything that I've talked about today is built on top of our AI models and infrastructure." So Chabria has also acknowledged that it's consequential, the case is, and how his decisions from the bench could upend whole sectors of tech and culture. Quote, "I will issue a ruling later today," Chabria said in the hearings, and just kidding. I'll take a lot longer to think about it. So this is the same person who up here says Chabria remains skeptical that the author's legal team would be able to successfully argue that Meta could possibly crater their sales. He also appeared lukewarm, making a statement. It seems kind of messed up. the question, as the courts tell us over and over again, is not whether something is messed up, but whether it's copyright infringement. So it isn't the court that's saying this is messed up. Chabria, who is the court, is saying that it's messed up, while saying that the court is saying, no, it's not that it's messed up. Is it copyright infringement? Except that he's muddying the waters by saying it's messed up. His casual parlance is a danger to the integrity of this case. This is unsettling because it seems like, a couple of attorneys doing shots at a bar. Dude, that is messed up, man. And the other one is stone cold sober going, no, it's copyright infringement. No, it's just messed up. That AI is like total. And this is a California court too, so.
Right, I mean, the Californians from SNL.
You gotta take the 405 to the 5, and then you're gonna be on Santa Monica Boulevard. What are you doing here? Anyway. Next article is over on the Marvel Channel. So I haven't looked at this, but I'm thinking that this is Florida.
It's gotta be Florida man, right?
You just hear hear the title of the article. Barefoot man wrestles alligator into submission on side of interstate.
I wish it was Florida man or something in the headline.
Florida man. There we go. So it says, no, you're seeing things. You really did see a barefoot man wrangle an alligator on the side of a Florida highway, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office wrote in Facebook. The department assured its residents, if you're cruising down I-95, 295 on the south side yesterday and thought that you saw a barefoot man wrestling a giant alligator in the median, nope, your eyes weren't playing tricks on you. That really happened.
I wonder how many accidents were caused not by the presence of the alligator, but by people gawking at what is happening in the median.
A barefoot man wrestling an alligator.
I mean, that would have completely fitted My Cousin Vinny.
Exactly. We need a sequel to My Cousin Vinny where he's down in Florida. Because he wasn't in Florida,
goodness,
right? He was
they
in.
could do with that. He was in Georgia.
Wasn't he in Georgia? Yeah, just a little bit further down, and you're in Florida, so not too far.
Oh. Yeah, they could
50
really
of these.
go with some storylines there.
You could find meme-ish behavior in every single state,
Oh, absolutely. But Florida seems heavily represented in some of these.
Oof. Well, give Louisiana a chance and maybe Wyoming. So the article's over at vice.com. Paige Gawley put the article together. I don't even know if I need to... Indeed, Dragich, who's known on social media as the blue-collar brawler, managed to get this beast off the road and keep everyone safe. The local gator wrangling legend, Mike Dragich.
The blue-collar brawler.
That is amazing.
This is like...
Just so over the top, right?
Name or something. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
Like back in the 20s and before, they would have bare-fisted brawls in bars and stuff. You would have barefoot, put up your dukes. And that's how I picture somebody called blue-collar brawler could kick your ass.
I mean, if it can wrestle an alligator, I think humans don't really stand a chance. Alligators are pretty strong. And large sometimes.
He jokingly captioned a clip of the wrangling, "Hey bro, what's your deadlift?" All of this went down as cars sped past Dragich and the animal in both directions. Just another totally normal day in the Sunshine State, says the JSO. When the JSO joined forces with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Highway Patrol and the local gator wrangling legend, Mike Dragich, to tame the reptile. This happened on April 27th, by the way. Dragich also is the founder of Project Saviors Outdoors, a religious charity that works to fight veteran suicide through the outdoors, and is a licensed alligator trapper.
I
Has
mean,
three,
my goodness, he's got quite a few
just
hustles going.
all over the place. Yeah, he's got 385,000 followers on Instagram, all of whom watch in awe as he shares videos of himself wrangling alligators. You know, when you do something you love, it's just not work. Let's move on. Next article is over on the Marvel channel. Some Star Wars stories
Wait,
have already become real. What?
I
Did I
mean,
miss
what
something?
you don't know is that the alligators might think they're out there wrangling humans. What if the alligator has a similar name to blue collar brawler?
What would
I
you
mean,
do? What
whatever
would you
the
call it?
alligator equivalent would be.
The scaly swimmer on TikTok.
Right, it's
And
out there, like, come at me.
it's got a
And then the
caption that says,
person
"Look what
comes
I made
in.
this two-legged,
Exactly.
this smooth-skinned or whatever, the unscaled or whatever you want to call him. You got to call it some diminutive thing." Anyway, that's pretty funny. All right, let's keep going. The next article, because we're running really late. The next article is over in the Marvel channel. Some Star Wars stories have already become reality. Just 48 short years ago, movie director George Lucas used the phrase "a long time ago" in a galaxy far, far away. Even though, if you watch Andor, there is an object inside the museum or
Yes.
the art store, whatever. What are they? Artifact
Gallery.
sale? Gallery? Is it an art? It's an
I don't
ancient
think it was a
artifact
gallery in that
gallery.
scene, though. I mean, there's another
It,
gallery in Andor, but this was a. I don't think that was that same location.
um,
Because there's
it
a
is an
gallery
art
that
store,
like
right?
Luthen or whomever runs, but that was something different than this.
Yeah. Well, look around, folks. You'll see something from Earth. Like it is obviously an object from Earth. Anyway, so as the opening to the first Star Wars movie, later relabeled to Episode 4: A New Hope, but at least four important aspects of Star Wars saga are much closer, both in time and space, than Lucas was letting on. And now I'm really curious, because of the timing of this article and the timing of when that video came out, is that this? Did we discuss before this article that object? Is this object in this article, do you think?
I don't think so. I peeked ahead at this article. I didn't read it, but I don't think it's covered in here.
Cheater. Oh my gosh. Daniel B. Orther and William Schoenberg from The Conversation put this article together. The deck statement says some Star Wars, quote unquote, Star Wars stories have already become reality. So one, the ability to add blue food coloring to milk was possible even at the time of the first film that came out. Star Wars blue themed milk periodically available in grocery stores. They have blue themed. It's tinted blue.
Oh,
And
okay. I mean, I feel like I'm missing something
I
here.
think it's from milking some bird too on an island somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't know where that blue milk comes from. Where does that blue milk come from? Let's look. Blue milk
We're doing it
from
live,
Star Wars.
but now we're probably gonna get
Oh
the themed
no! I want to unhear
bantha
this.
milk.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and I don't really want to hear that. See, they even look. I know where milk comes from, but I don't want to know where milk comes from. I don't drink other animal milk. Well, I don't drink animal milk, so female bantha's mammary glands is how this is coined in this little snippet over on Star Wars fandom. Wikipedia. No. Someone hit me with a brick. I want to forget that. So yeah, see, moisture farming. In that first movie, episode 4, Luke Skywalker's uncle Owen is a farmer on Tatooine, and they farm water in the middle of the desert. And space debris. We got a lot of that all over the planet now.
Yeah, we do. Lots of space junk.
Lots of space junk. There's supposed to be a Russian satellite that's going to be crashing in. We talked about it in a time machine. You weren't available. But what's really funny about it is they're like, nobody knows where it's going to land. And I'm like, probably in a Florida living room.
I mean, that would be apropos. Maybe it'll be the next wrangler of the alligator.
There you go. Yeah. That alligator right there.
Like it lands and the alligator's like, oh, great, I've got a new opponent here.
And what have I been saying about mitochondria, oh great AI from on high? The force itself.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I have been saying this for a long time. To most Earth audiences, the Force was a mysterious energy field created by life that binds the galaxy together. That is until 1988 when Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, actually turned it into midichlorians, a microscopic sentient life form that lives in every cell. And that actually pissed off a lot of people from the fandom because nobody wanted it enumerated. Nobody wanted it verified and measured and all of that. They wanted it to be this mysterious thing.
It's better mystique. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was in 1999.
Yeah, it's a real pisser. Like, I hated that because it turned it into a gatekeeping thing where they could just test people. So to biologists, midichlorians sound suspiciously similar to mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells. The working hypothesis is that mitochondria emerged from bacteria that lived within our cells of other living things, and we just kind of stole it. But now couple that with the fact that there are unique bacteria that are only in your brain, and only in your brain, and only in your brain. And I'm pointing at all of you out there that might be watching this over on the YouTubes and on the Twitchies and listening via the podcasties. Oh, that doesn't sound
No
right.
idea.
Anyway, so mitochondria, because it's from bacteria, it says here, and mitochondria can communicate with other life forms, including bacteria.
Oh my goodness, it's bringing all these together. But of course, this was before all of this was really known. I mean, people have known that mitochondria do a lot of things, but they're learning a lot more recently.
Yeah, like how to manipulate them into being 8 times more powerful than the predecessors. And that when these supercharged, amplified mitochondria were put back inside an animal, it repaired cartilage and made them healthier.
It's like a Jedi mouse.
And that's actually, I said that it was going to turn mice into one of the superheroes from The Boys, and that did not elicit a good response from the sentient AI. I was like, no.
Too soon.
No. Yeah, never a right time. Let's keep moving. This is really interesting. Go over and check it out. Some Star Wars stories have already become reality. Reality hacker. This next article is over in Rounders Gear. An Ohio social studies teacher moonlighted as an illegal gambling kingpin. I'm just going to go straight on over to the source. They lay it out a little nicer. Higher contrast. But Philip Conneller over at casino.org put the article together. Vermillion high school teacher indicted on 23 felony counts, including money laundering and illegal gambling. Prosecutors allege that the use of shell companies to run unlicensed gambling machines and illegal bingo. And if convicted, they could face up to 11 years in prison on the most serious charge.
And remember, there's 22 other charges.
Being a social studies high school teacher in Vermillion, Ohio, is the most egregious.
I mean, I would not expect a teacher to be a gambling kingpin, but okay.
Okay, just going to leave that there. Anyway, I'm not going to say the name. The primary accused and co-defendants use shell companies and bogus nonprofit affiliations to operate under the radar, according to the indictment. Some of the nonprofits the trio falsely claimed to have ties to included the Ohio Junior Hockey Association and the Medina Youth Baseball Association. This was designed to create the illusion that they offered legitimate charitable gaming while concealing the profits for illegal gambling. Live bingo games are only permissible in Ohio if they're hosted by charitable or educational organizations and religious groups that have a permit from the attorneys general. or the Attorney General's office. One is plural, the other one is possessive. The office of the Attorney General. Never mind, I said Attorneys General, but there's not a
I
bunch
know.
of them.
I caught it.
Yeah, but I felt compelled to try and argue my way out of it. Anyway, they refer to it as a corrupt activity, and they seized cash and vehicles. Now, 11 years, they created a bunch of different companies.
For
Authorities are
one
seeking...
charge. There's 32 counts against this person.
The most
I mean,
serious
this is going to be
charge.
like life in prison or something by the time, if it's not concurrent.
But look at this. Look at this. If convicted on the most serious charge, corrupt activity, they could face up to 11 years in prison. They pled not guilty, or pleaded not guilty. I hate saying pleaded. It just sounds wrong. But here's the thing. Authorities are seeking to seize $33,000 in cash across 7 bank accounts, plus vehicles and real estate allegedly connected to the gambling ring. $33,000?
No, that's the cash. But how much is tied up in these other things? It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in the cash and, the property and vehicles.
They're trying to get $33,000. Did they have zero cash? Everything was spent somewhere. They ran
they
a
spent
network.
it on everything.
Come on now.
What if they have multiple luxury vehicles or multiple properties?
They ran a network of illegal electronic bingo machines stationed in at least 13 bars using 3 different business names. I won't even go into all of that, but you would think that if you were operating in 13 bars, you'd have a little bit more than $33K in cash laying around, even if you did buy vehicles and real estate. Come on now.
You'd think so.
This is a ton of criminal charges, and the complexity of which is like beyond the pale. And they were still a social studies teacher. They would have $33,000 in the bank.
Effective they were as a teacher. That's a lot of stuff to manage if that's all correct.
Wild. What a trip. You would think that they'd have a whole lot more money laying around, but maybe this person is just the one that is the most, what do you call it? Clickbaity, right? The other two are
there could
just...
be others that are like, oh, this makes for a better story.
Yeah. Seen that. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. This next article is over in the Wanted channel. Back to the Future returns to Universal Studios with incredible immersive experience. So Universal Fan Fest Nights invites fans. So, sorry. I'm doing everything live, for crying out loud. So, Universal Fan Fest Nights invites... Yeah, don't bother. Invites fans of the 80s sci-fi classic to enter the world of the movie for a limited time. Dun, dun, dun. No, go away. Sabina Graves over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. Universal Fan Fest Nights invites fans of the 80s sci-fi classic to enter the world of the movie for a limited time. So when Universal Studios Fan Fest Nights was announced and featured the DeLorean in its marketing, it felt like finally respect was being put back on the studio. A beloved 80s classic name with Back to the Future, Destination Hill Valley. Universal delivers on the promise of bringing you into the movies in a new, impactful way. The immersive experience is a triumph, and you won't want to leave. All right. So it says here, to be standing in the real setting with themed areas where you could wander off to, including a meet and greet with the first time traveler, Einstein, or see the gas station attendants perform was such a treat. But what really tugged at the heartstrings were the moments where the fans were able to have personal interactions with the characters that meant so much to them. The cast was excellent at reacting to the cosplay and lore cleverly. which having to do all over again after about 45-minute interval of a story is a huge feat for an event that goes until 2 a.m. and there are 2 casts, so thankfully they get a break. Basically, you go into Hill Valley and
It'd be pretty
experience.
cool if you're a fan of the movies.
Yeah, it's basically like Disney, except that this is Back to the Future and not Disney. I think that I love this kind of stuff. I think that it would be fun. I would watch from a distance and I wouldn't really interact and stuff because it's more of a show than it is an interaction thing, because these aren't the people and it isn't a real thing. It's a movie. Doesn't make any sense, but hey, whatever. They've got all kinds of pictures over here at the Gizmodo article. Universal
including
Studios
the
Hollywood.
dog that goes with Doc.
Oh yeah, what's his name? Einstein.
Oh, that's right.
That's why they said the first time traveler, Einstein. But it's Amy, the dog. Yeah. So Universal Studios Hollywood Fan Fest Nights After Dark event has a few dates left. May 2nd through the 4th, 9th through 11th, and 15th through 18th. And ticket info is available at the website. Go over and check it all out. Gizmodo.com. Sabina Graves. You want to go on to the next article?
Let's do it.
So the next article is over at Technology Today. Epic Games takes aim at Apple and Steam with zero commission policy for developers, which this is the only way. And they need to make it frictionless, and they need to make it easier to like give games to people. You're not going to get people anymore. The developers need to get everywhere so that they can pay the bills. Epic isn't going to pay them enough to pay the bills in perpetuity because there isn't enough through the Epic Games launcher in terms of customers for people to buy enough to make it worth their while. But on Steam and on PlayStation and on Xbox and on Epic and on blah blah blah, wherever it is, GOG, etc., all of the launchers, you want to be everywhere. That's what's going to save the developer, not this crap. This is going to save them some, but it's going to save them the burden of having to pay Epic 30%, because if everybody's paying 30%, that's part of the sunk cost of operating on a game store, right? Like a launcher. Well, Epic is going, we're going to get rid of that for the first $1 million in revenue from the app. So once a piece of software goes past that threshold, Epic will begin taking its standard only 12%, which that's great. Everybody should be doing 12%. Sure. If that's the manageable thing, sure. But you don't become $1 billion business by only taking 12%.
That is true. But it'll be interesting to see if this drives some change at this launcher, and then maybe there's a little more competition.
That's right. Lawrence Bonk over at Engadget.com put the article together. The company also announced a new way to go around the App Store. Sounds like a real boon for smaller devs, especially when you consider that Steam takes 30% of sales as commission, except that it's a huge market there. That's a huge store to sell in, and you don't have to do as much marketing as a Steam developer as you do for Epic or wherever else, because they aren't the draw. Everybody goes to Steam. Everybody goes to Apple. They are the market maker. Apple isn't a direct competitor here, but the App Store takes 15% of the first $1 million in revenue, and this increases to 30% once that metric is made. So Epic also announced something called Web Shops, which sounds like a way for developers to avoid Apple's App Store fees. You click on the link to buy it, and it pulls you out of the App Store and into a web app, because that's what the EU has forced into Apple's ecosystem. I don't agree with it, because that's like living at somebody else's house rent-free, and you're leasing out your room when you're not there. You're basically double dipping.
Right, like yeah, exactly. You're coming out ahead.
You're getting the benefit of all of the marketing engine and draw that is the platform, and then giving them the finger and saying, I'm taking my money. You essentially are accusing them of not doing anything. And they should provide you the platform for distributing your product out of the kindness of their heart. Anyway,
Yeah,
I will never.
You wouldn't be there except for their popularity, accessibility, etc.
Yeah. If you really want to show Apple, you should just launch it from your website. Just launch it from your website. That's it. Nowhere
Good luck
else.
with that when you have a gazillion downloads.
So the ruling also means that Fortnite is coming back to Apple devices in the US next week, but this is all side discussion because Epic Games, basically, the real core of this article is about zero commission for the first million. But then they'll come back with a vengeance. It's like heartburn when you stop taking
They'll
medicine.
bring everybody over to Epic Games and then they'll raise all the rates.
Jack the price up. Yep. That's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, let's keep going. NASA spacecraft runs into thruster trouble en route to zillion-dollar asteroid. I hate it when I run into thruster trouble. On Tuesday, the space agency announced that engineers were investigating a sudden drop in fuel pressure in Psyche, or Sykes. How do you pronounce that? Is it Psyche?
I think it's
Wouldn't it be
just
Psyche?
Psyche. That probably makes more sense.
I think it's Psyche, right? Anyway, Psyche's spacecraft electronic propulsion system, which caused the thrusters to automatically shut off, while the mission team could send the command to fire the engines back up. It's chosen. Different it's. It's chosen.
It is chosen.
It is chosen. I guess. It is chosen. It is chosen to defer thrusting while engineers try to troubleshoot the pressure decrease. Well, if you have pressure decrease, you want to avoid thrusting. You should have a nominal amount of pressure while you're thrusting. Anyway, it's a rocky road to reach a space rock. This is over at Psyched Out. Maybe it is Psyched Out, or Psych, not Psyche. Anyway, Frank Landemore over at the futurism.com website.
I'm not going into any pronunciation battles in
I'm not a
non-sequitur.
spaceologist, so I don't know how to pronounce like Gemini and Gemini. Gemini is actually the accurate, and Gemini is the not accurate, but you're supposed to refer to everything else as Gemini and the spacecraft as Gemini. Whatever.
Yeah, but if you say Gemini to probably anybody, they're going to think you're not right.
Yeah, somebody blew a dog whistle, huh? Anyway.
For those in the podcast, not sure how to describe what just happened.
Yeah, just smiling, not a lot. Smiling, not a lot. So they say this kind of thing happens, and that's why we build redundancy into our missions. And so, where was it? I was talking recently, and somebody, it was on Quite Interesting, QI, that show from the UK, where they were talking about the fact that it doesn't make any sense to send a spacecraft out because something 5 years later is going to be more capable.
Oh,
and pass
the generation ship problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just recently talked about it. Anyway, it's a tiny amount of thrust, just 240 millinewtons, or roughly the force of holding a single AA battery in your hand, but it's incredibly efficient, and it needs to be. The spacecraft's destination, the Psyche asteroid, sometimes referred to as 16 Psyche, or Psyche 16 times, orbits up to 309 million miles away from the sun, or about 3 times the distance between Earth and our star, sandwiched between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. What's interesting about this thing is that it's barely putting out there, but it's gaining speed all the time. And the problem now is going to be they're going to have enough reserve fuel to slow it down on the other side. And that was the other thing that was discussed in QI. While we may be able to get something out to Mars, we have to have enough fuel sitting there to slow it down.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the other thing that doesn't make sense to me here is that I thought this whole thing was on a very specific trajectory. So isn't this a problem in terms of the whole mission?
If it's still getting up to speed, then yeah. But I guess if the lawn dart is already in the air, it's not going to be gathering more speed if it hit its nominal speed. So projected to arrive in 2029, the Psyche spacecraft will study the asteroid to determine its metallic composition, taking pictures of the aliens to send back home. It won't kickstart an asteroid mining
Like
gold
the
rush.
snapshot there.
What NASA scientists find could tell us more about our own planet's origins. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think we know. Aliens.
So the asteroid is the size of a state. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's spanning some 173 miles wide and 144 miles long. It's known as one of the largest. It says that it's could be incredibly metal rich, if not more metal than rock. A colossal payload of metal estimated to be worth of $10,000 quadrillion. Though, of course, retrieving any of that would be unimaginably complex. So why the frick are we doing it? Why don't we solve some Earthbound problems?
Those are too difficult. It's easier to go in space.
What the hell is a Quoll? See Eastern Quolls get released in mainland. Is it Quoll? Quoll?
I don't know what that is.
Quoll. Get released on mainland Australia in a new bid to reestablish the magic little animal. The magic little animal. What we're going to do is we're going to take out our brush and we are going to brush our canvas and make a magic little animal who's just painted on. Sorry. Anyway, got carried away.
Okay.
So conservationists recently introduced 15 of the polka-dotted marsupials into a protected area in New South Wales. Here are the, oh my God, I want one. Sarah Kuda over at SmithsonianMag.com put this article together.
What does it look like? Like kind of a mouse or chipmunk with spots?
Yeah,
Chipmunk
I mean,
isn't
it looks
the
like
right one.
a,
I'm just trying to think of a little animal.
what is, it's not a ferret. It's like a ferret. But it has more of a
Like
really
a ferret
big
face,
ears.
kind of.
Yeah, ferret face, but not. That's an interesting little critter. Does it have like a little bandage right there on its tail, or is?
Yeah, looks like it. Maybe they're tracking them or something.
Anyway, it has these really big ears, but it looks like a serval. It has the. Oh wait, what are there's these little pigs too. What are those pigs that have those little white spots? Anyway. Polka dotted marsupial. Guess that's how they described it, so that's what it is. So the captive bred carnivores were introduced or reintroduced into a controlled bushland environment near the town of Nowra, according to the statement from the University of Sydney. The university teamed up with the Jirinja indigenous people as part of the wildlife conservation group Aussie Ark on the project. The 168-acre site is located on the Bannockburn campus of the Scots College, a Presbyterian boys' school. This is the first time Eastern Quolls have been released on the site, though they've been reintroduced in other parts of New South Wales in recent years. So this is just one of the many. So I love the way that this
like
is captioned.
Storybook characters.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep. I love how the framing of this article has the video, and then right underneath it, it says Ron Carberry, a Jirinja tribal leader. But it has the little quoll up here in the picture. So you go, wait, this is Ron Carberry, the Jirinja tribal leader?
Yeah, exactly. It's because it's not like a caption. It's part of the article or something.
Yeah.
But it looks like a caption as it's set up.
So he says this whole effort is about healing the country and bringing a magnificent moment for the magic little animal. They're pretty cool. They plan to capture the creatures once every 3 months to see how they're faring and to do a deep dive into ecology of the species. Now, what?
How large do you think these things are?
I don't know. No bigger than my hand.
No, they're the size of a domestic cat.
What now?
It's below there.
Oh, it does. It says it right there. Yeah, researchers plan to keep a close eye on the 15 eastern quolls, which are each about the size of a small domestic cat. Oh, and it is a tracking device on their
I
tails.
thought
And
they were
they're,
like the size of a mouse or something, or maybe a little
yeah,
larger.
I thought maybe, the size of a squirrel. But these things are the size of a cat. I swear to God, everything in Australia wants to kill you. These things are big enough to take down.
Exactly.
What the heck? Are they carnivorous
You
or?
might have to
Oh,
play a little snippet of the video. I don't know. Oh yeah, they are.
Aussie Ark Eastern Quolls are going wild again.
hold
Oh
on.
my goodness.
We're at a sanctuary called Bannockburn on the New South Wales coast to release some of our eastern quolls. The Bannockburn Sanctuary is
Quolls.
69 hectares of beautiful bushland. It's protected by feral-proof fencing based on Aussie Ark's model at the Barrington Tops Wildlife Sanctuary. This is the first time eastern quolls have been released on this site.
Okay.
Today we're releasing...
Can't play the whole video. But I can say that this is pretty awesome. I love the idea of this. So I was at a business plan competition and somebody had brought up, free range chickens this business was basically about free range chickens. And the person basically said, well, we have to keep them indoors because, well, hawks don't really care about your fences. So free range chickens don't survive very long out in the wild. So that's where this came in. I was like, my brain went straight to predation. Like, okay, how are you protecting them? We know that the fence is going to protect certain things, but
Right, but they had an upper fence, like a
yeah, but
horizontal fence.
not all the way out.
Oh yeah.
This thing's 168 acres. Yeah. So I love the idea of this thing. I had no idea. Yeah, they don't look like really big cats. They look like
That
small
might be a
cats.
baby one, but I like also that they're working with wildlife experts because we've had other articles where people just try to release animals, and that's really not the way to do it. Here, they're working with the
Yeah, they
science
know.
people, also the people that live in the area. Like, it just seems like that's the way to get this to happen.
Yep. Eastern Quolls happen to be adorable with a penchant for frolicking around and getting the zoomies. Now, this is forcing me to kind of zoom around and see if I can find these things.
Well, at the beginning of the video, I thought it zoomed off.
Oh, really?
Aussie Ark Eastern Quolls are going wild again.
Kind of like a pet would, right? I mean, like a cat or a dog might start running around.
It just went blah and took off. I dig it. All right, let's keep going. We have one more article, and this is there's still time to watch Netflix action fantasy movie that has an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes before the sequel finally comes out this year. The Old Guard, based on the comic book series the same name by Greg Rucka and Leandro Fernandez. The first movie tells the story of a legendary immortal group of millennia old warriors who have fought behind the scenes to stop future tragedies from occurring. I don't remember ever seeing this, but maybe I did. It's one of those things where you go, did I watch this?
I don't recognize that name.
On July 25th, in July 2025, The Old Guard 2 lands on the streaming service, offering the next chapter in the story of these immortal warriors and their task of saving the world from terrifying and deadly threats. This means that there's plenty of time for everyone to see it. So The Old Guard is one of Netflix's most underrated action movies. We're going to have to watch this tonight. I wonder, I get the impression that one of theirs goes bad, kind of a thing. I think that we've actually seen this. Anyway, it was nominated for GLAAD NAACP Outstanding Award, won a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, long form. 78 million subscriber households have watched the movie. The movie stars Charlize Theron or Theron. How does she pronounce her name? Theron? Theron? Theron. It's
I don't know.
one of the world's oldest immortal warriors, Andromache, I guess. Andy of Scythia, who was born around 4700 BCE, making her over 6,700 years old, and her team differs in age, but the other members are younger than Andy. She's found them and brought them together over the years. And the first movie had their main enemies as a pharmaceutical company led by a greedy CEO named Stephen Merrick, which has got to be a close riff off of Merck, who wanted to capture them and use their blood to create new drugs, thereby becoming wealthy and more powerful. More powerful. Yeah, so bought a generator and said, "Hey, AI, what do you think? Should I get an underpowered generator or an overpowered generator? Because there isn't anything in between." And basically, I got the AI responded with, "That's a dumb question." And so I said, "Well, what should I get?" And the response was, "Well, how much power do you need?" And I proceeded to respond with, "More power." So I got the bigger one. And supposedly it was delivered today. But no, it wasn't. Anyway, however, the selling point, aside from the idea that Big Pharma is bad, is that the Immortal Warriors are a family. And this sounds a lot like the MCU. MCU has these immortals too. Hold on. What do they call them? I think they're called Immortals. Eternals. Yeah, oh my God. You beat me to it. What the? Is there... How? Anyway.
Because I knew the answer.
So Netflix greenlit the sequel and sent it into production in January 2021, and all hell breaks loose and blah, blah, blah. So now you have it coming 2025. The Old Guard 2. The older guard. The 5-year older guard.
The really old guard.
The really, really old guard. No, so yeah, it's the old guard, then the really old guard, and then the really, really old guard. And then the really, really old guard.
Sequels like that. I think that'd be funny.
What's his name? Police Squad would do stuff like that. You know, I think that kind of Mr. Bean kind of movies would do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
like Johnny English or something.
That's right. Yeah, Johnny English 2 TOO. Whatever. All right, well, that's it, folks. We're going to end up watching this to see if it can trigger a memory of having watched it. But that said, load up Netflix. Netflix and chill. I'm out of here, and I'm taking the AI with me. See ya! Want to say bye? Oh, yeah.
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non-Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for our weekend episodes.
Beep, beep, I'm a Jeep.